Hello, guys, and we have some interesting takes on the Bitcoin bull market. There is a person out there who's obviously pretty famous in the crypto world, but I've never actually heard of, saying that China was the main engine for the last couple of Bitcoin pumps and will actually be again the main pumper this time. And the Chinese people haven't come in yet. And he's saying that 69K is just the baseline for the bull run to start running. Kind of like 20K was last time. His name is Herbert Sim. I've never heard of this guy. He's called AKA the Bitcoin Man. Not exactly sure what makes him the Bitcoin Man. And he's been talking to the big players in China. Now, this is kind of interesting because although you can do it in Hong Kong, there is no actual Bitcoin exchange on the mainland because the mainland still bans crypto transactions for just about anything. You're not barred from owning Bitcoin, but exchanges aren't allowed to operate on the mainland. But that doesn't mean mainlanders can't get Bitcoin. And I'm sure plenty of party members actually own Bitcoin as well. He tells magazine that the previous bull runs have all been led by Chinese markets, not Americans, despite them wishing that they were leading the pack. Now, I actually think that's a load of baloney. I think the last bull run was definitely led by Americans. The one before that might have actually had more to do with China and more so with Korea, because you can see with Upbit, how much they pump XRP and other coins. So I think it was Korea front running that market. I'm not really sure if China really front ran any of these markets. Maybe he's just trying to pump up China's prestige. I have no doubt that there's still a decent Chinese market because a lot of people do things under the table, especially government party officials, obviously, because, they want to make money that us peons, regular Chinese pheasants or peasants cannot. So basically, the thing is this guy was, in Bitcoin when it was before $1. He's been in crypto since 2010, back when he was studying economics at university. He jumped in before the industry was even a thing, back when Bitcoin was worth 40 cents. So the thing is that might be true, and he might actually have some connections in China. I don't really believe that China actually leads the markets, mainly because the Chinese government has put the clamps down, but a lot of people in the government itself are corrupt, obviously, and they might actually buy Bitcoin themselves without letting other people in. And I do think there is some big buying. But as for the main action coming from China, I'm not really sure. There could be more action this time because Hong Kong is actually kind of let Bitcoin loose. And there's probably a lot of Chinese officials that can buy directly from Hong Kong or the Hong Kong market. So I do think that China will play a part in this bull run. But as for being the main player in this bull run, I think that's definitely overstating China's role in all of this. That doesn't mean I don't think China will play a role. I just don't think it'll be as big of a role as this guy thinks, but it could intensify the bull run as more people pile in. I'm not really sure how most people would actually get Bitcoin in China. I'm going to guess it's through Hong Kong or another international exchange because there's no exchanges in the mainland, or they can go offshore to get them as well. But I'm looking to see how much China will actually play an effect, and will they actually allow Bitcoin buying before the real run hits, and how much government officials will go around the rules to get Bitcoin, because I'm sure they have ways to get Bitcoin. But this so-called Bitcoin man that's been in Bitcoin since it was 40 cents actually thinks that China is the main force driving the Bitcoin market, which I do not agree with him. I want to talk about the Ethereum Dencun update. It's one of the main updates for Ethereum. It's going to launch tomorrow, or actually today, now since I'm making the video on the 13th. And it's a big milestone, but only for layer 2 solutions. So it won't solve most of the fees on Ethereum on the complaints, because a lot of the fees are on the base layer, and some people will just say, but you could just use layer 2. Aside from the fact that it is a lot more centralized, but that's not my main problem with it. A lot of the coins on Ethereum are only on layer 1. So you can't really take advantage of it. We've been talking about meme coins today. A lot of them are actually on Ethereum layer 1, and I'm not going to touch those coins because it's just not worth basically spending, 50, 60 bucks just to trade those coins. And even if I go on the cheap places at night or the cheap times at night, it's still $15. So that makes a couple $100 investments pretty much not worth the deal. In terms of G-Way costs, I believe that gas fees on Ethereum mainnet have risen to an average of 98 GWay on March 5th, a level not seen since early May 2023. An average swap would cost users $87, which you have to get some of those Ethereum coins. And while NFT sales are $147 in gas. So I think a lot of the NFT market is definitely going to move to Solana and other chains. And I think a lot of the small token buying is also going to move to places like Solana Cardano. The chains that have the biggest amount of liquidity is going to benefit the most. And I do think that's Solana. Other chains that actually have USDC, USDT will benefit a lot too, because there's going to be a lot of people that just don't want to swap and trade on Ethereum. And this is one of those ways that you can actually take dominance away from Ethereum, just because Ethereum is getting really too expensive to use for normies. Because 170 like $87.45. When people are buying like smaller coins or doing smaller investments, they're only investing a couple $100. And if it's costing $87 to just invest, they're going to go for another chain because they don't want to spend like a third of their money in those transactional fees. That plays very well for Solana and Cardano and others in the meme coin market. But it also for just for like actual projects that people want to invest in, the fees are just going to be too high. So Dencun, although it's much to look forward to, it's not going to solve the main problem, which is the layer 1 fees. And there are a lot of ERC20 coins that are just on layer 1. I think like when people talk to me about, you can just use layer 2 for Ethereum. No, you can't, because a lot of the coins are not on layer 2, and the ones that are, sometimes you have to swap between the layer 2s and also swap with Ethereum layer 1 as well. It's hard just to stay on one layer 2 network if you're like interacting with the entire ecosystem. So I don't think Dencun is going to solve most of the complaints, and you're still going to see a lot of people moving to like Solana, Cardano, HBAR, and other networks, because Ethereum Dencun just doesn't really solve the main problem that's been plaguing Ethereum. And I don't think there's a way to solve the main problem that's been plaguing Ethereum anyways. So the CPI came out today, and it didn't really scare the markets that much. It did initially, and I think in the early morning hours before I woke up, it actually dumped to about 68K, and people were getting all excited, like cheap coins and stuff. But then it just went back up, and the stock market kind of like did the same. CPI did come in hotter, mainly because of housing and gas, but other stuff didn't actually go that much in price, and gas has always been extremely volatile. For the rest of today, like stocks, like the DJIA went up like 235 points, NASDAQ went up 246, S&P went up 57, and I think Bitcoin kind of recovered because of that. There wasn't some kind of big economic fallout, and people were not like bamboozled by super high like inflation or CPI rates. I think people kind of expected it because of the ongoing war in the Middle East. The gas price was expected to go up. And I'm not really sure if people see that as more of a long-term thing. And it just seems like people do have money right now because they're still buying tech. They're still buying new things for themselves, and they're still buying crypto. So I'm not really sure how big an effect that really has. So the overall macroeconomic outlook for the economy is not that bad right now. And especially the investments side is not looking that bad because NASDAQ is still growing. As long as NASDAQ is going to keep growing, crypto is going to keep growing. So Bitcoin bounced back very, very well today because of that. So kind of like keep that in mind before you go for all the doomsday naysayers, because that stuff just isn't really coming into play. Yes, things do cost more, but there's large sections of America that actually have more money right now. Like I'm talking about for blue collar workers, you got electricians, plumbers, and a lot of other trade professions that still pay a lot of money, and the salaries have gone up substantially over the last few years. Sometimes some of those professions have even outpaced inflation by themselves. And others like that work in tech healthcare, their salaries have outpaced inflation for many, many years now. So that's actually a big, big chunk of America that still has plenty of money. Like the people that like work in like coal mining and stuff, they haven't been doing well for like the last 30 years, and that's really not going to change, unfortunately, for them. So like the people that have been like structurally underemployed or structurally unemployed, it doesn't actually matter who's president. They're not going to do well either way. And the people that are like in those like hot fields, they're going to make a lot of money regardless of who's president and what the politics are, and they're going to continue buying more stuff, and they do represent a pretty big chunk of America. And also anyone who's kind of like has a big 401k, they've been doing great the last few years. So that's really not like that's I don't think like a lot of people consider that when they look at the economy. Like they might look at the grocery bill, and especially if you're doing bad, you're only looking at your condition. But if you look at the country as a whole, there's plenty of people with a lot of money. So that's why the economy is not sagging right now. And because those people exist, and also like people that work in tech are more likely to buy Bitcoin because they're more likely to be familiar with Bitcoin. So I can see just Bitcoin going up from here. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.